Hello, welcome back. This is episode 7. Oh my god, a whole week's worth. So, y'all know me. I'm Ro Delagrazzi, aka Mama Moody. This is From Chaos to Country. And today I've been talking about the steps on how we relocated. And what I'd really like to talk about today as far as when you decide to move from a place that's maybe chaotic, or maybe too many people live there, or maybe it's too expensive. I don't know what people's reasons are all the time. It's not just this kind of trying to find and I'll just use country as peace. It's dependent on, it's so different for everybody. One of my friends, she was hitting me up about how she just wants to move closer to nature. And I totally get that. Now, I would like to say, I wish I was one of those people that's like, oh God, to live by the beach, because people love living by the beach. And I think that it's a nice thought. It's one of those like, yeah, I wish I could say, yeah, I want to wake up with the perfect smell of the beach, the perfect view of the beach. Look, anywhere you go in nature, it's going to present things when you're in nature. So if you live on the beach, you're going to get that beautiful sunset. You're going to get that beautiful, the waves crashing. That stuff is amazing. The look of how the beach is, the seagulls, the smell of the ocean. It's gorgeous, but you're also going to see a headless seal float onto the beach. Okay, you might, if you're in California, you're going to find an unhoused person probably pooping outside of your door. There's pros and cons to everything that's in nature. The cons by living by the beach, most likely it's pretty expensive. So then you move to the forest like we did, and you see a dead possum on the side of the road. A hornet comes into your house and happens to sting you. A tree falls and you hope it doesn't fall on your house. So it's not like any place is perfect. It's just that you have to find what's peaceful for you. Some people love the hustle and bustle of a city. They love it. I did. When I was younger, in my 20s, I loved it. I thought I wanted to live in Manhattan. I did want to live in Manhattan. I wanted to live in the West Village, by Hudson Street. I used to go to a school that was on Bank Street. It was called HB Studios. I was there. I wouldn't even go to school. I just sit at little cafes and have lunch. I loved it. I loved the people. I loved the energy. Now, and times were different then. It wasn't like I had ways to document that except my mind. We didn't have all this stuff that we have now. I mean, it was just a really fun, amazing time to be in the moment. And for me, what's changed is I needed a little more quiet. Now, everybody's got different whys. So that's kind of one of the reasons I started to do this podcast with this subject of chaos to country. It's not just about relocating. Like, I want to give all the steps for it that we did. And I have friends that are relocating that have to take different steps. Like, we were fortunate enough that we were able to buy. That's not always possible for people. So if you have to rent, there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, it's actually, this might sound crazier, in a way, well, there's ways it's easier, and of course you'll still need money up front. But I'm saying, like, if you rent, you know that, hey, I'm going to move in on this date. Cool, great. Here's the deposit. Boom. When you buy, there's escrow, and you don't know if things pop up, and you don't know if a buyer backs out, or you don't get your funding. look, I'm new to all this, so I might not use all the right terms, but you know what I'm saying? So in a way, if you're like, hey, we don't have the money to buy a house, but we want to relocate, there's nothing wrong with renting at all. In fact, after owning a house for 3 months, I understand why people rent. We just found out that we have septic tanks. Our neighbor's like, oh yeah, everybody's got septic tanks. Oh, really? Well, then I gotta figure out when the last time that was emptied, huh? She's like, yeah, you gotta get emptied every 5 years. Did not know that. Did not know that. The only thing I know about tanks and things, this is going back to a reference, only some of my friends will know this. My Gen Xers will know this. Shitter was full. You know what that's from. And that was like a portable tank from the RV from the, it's, National Lampoon's movies. Sorry, I went off on a tangent. You know what I'm saying. That's the only reference I think of when I hear septic tank. So I don't think, I think if you, they say what, when you want to change your environment, and this isn't, there's things that people try to do, like they pull geographicals where they're like, I need to move. Now, that might work for some people. And then you might realize that the problem just lies within. That's also why I discovered that with changing my environment, with coming to this point in my life, with doing stand-up for 25 years this year, which I'm very grateful and blessed to have a quarter of a century behind me in doing stand-up. But that chaos, that hectic, that rat race, I'm okay with slowing that down. I'm okay with, look, when it comes to stand-up and when it comes to being on stage and the energy of that crowd, there's, for me, when it comes to entertainment, there is nothing like it. I mean, it is a drug. It is a high. It is amazing. But I've had that travel and that exciting life that comes with travel and all of that. And for me right now at this point, I'm not going to leave my kids for like a week-long gig, especially if it's only paying a certain amount. And my husband's great. It's just for him to handle the kids for a whole week. It would be a lot. But here's the other thing about life. It's okay if things change, right? That's the only thing that's guaranteed is change. That's it. We're all gonna die and things are gonna change. That's it. I mean, I don't know if you heard my TikTok, but sun's gonna burn out in about 8 million years, so you might as well get to living, right? So if that living isn't working for you, then take the steps. And if you need any help with what are the steps, that's why I'm here. Now, also, there's people that love living in that chaotic town, and that's okay too. That's okay. There's nothing wrong if you love the chaos of a busy city. Nothing wrong with that. If you're finding your peace in other ways, or really we have to find the peace within ourselves. That's really what it is, because nothing outside. Like we moved to the country, and that's when I had to deal with like, oh, maybe you've been chasing fame. And I already knew I was chasing fame and accolades in my business of choice, and that's not it. It's got to be an inside thing. So yeah, lot to unpack, along with things I had to unpack in the house, right? So I don't think I'll ever figure it out. Like there'll never be an answer for any of this, but it's just to keep looking within and to keep sharing information and being of service in any way I can, and try to make the world a better place, one podcast at a time. Okay, thank you for joining me. I'll see you next week.